Hello everyone, this will be my video for my controller mate demonstration patch. So let me just start out by a little preface. Essentially, the purpose of this program uh, is basically to integrate with controllers of any sort. It's mainly used for video games and whatnot, but it can also be used for MIDI controllers. Now, the reason I made this patch was because I'm just a big hands on guy. As you can see here, I have a Pro Tools session open, and Avid, for some reason, does not make very many controllers or third party MIDI or USB devices compatible with controlling Pro Tools itself, which I personally think is a really big flaw when it's perfectly possible to do it. It's 2016, and I think Avid should implement that feature into Pro Tools. Anyways, so as you can see, uh, oh, by the way, um, I can still control my channel strips, pan and fade controls, as well as my record, solo, and mute buttons, which is fine. I have a separate device for that. I'm using a Korg Nano Control, which is one of the very few devices that can actually control a Pro Tools session like this for a cheap cost. Most of Avid's controllers are very expensive, and it's something I'm not too fond of, which is why I pretty much built these patches, is so I can have hands-on control not only over the channel strips but also over my inserts and sends as well. So basically, to start off, I'll open up Controller Mate here. As you can see, this is my master MIDI mouse control. So essentially what I'm doing here is I receive messages from my MIDI controller into Controller Mate. As you can see, it'll flash up right there whenever it receives messages. And I'm converting those MIDI messages into essentially whatever mouse movements that I tell it to. So, it's not a direct integration into all the, coding and Pro Tools stuff that's within the software, but it's a very easy workaround that anybody can accomplish if they put the time and effort into learning the software and learning how to integrate your personal controller with it, because everybody has a different controller. So essentially, I haven't mapped up every single plugin per se, but as you can see, you've got your EQ, your dynamics, and your pitch shift, and your reverb, which are all plugin categories within Pro Tools. So just for example, I wanted to be able to control this by never ever having to use my mouse or keyboard. So the very first thing I mapped out were the horizontal and vertical mouse movements. So essentially, I have two endless knobs within or on my MIDI controller, but they also double as buttons. So since there's only two knobs on my controller that you can push down as buttons, it only made sense for me to set them as right and left clicks. So, you can see you can click with just the keyboard. And to switch between programs without having to use my mouse, I use the quick key command and tab, and you can pull up this menu for Mac anyways and pretty much switch between any programs you want. Now, you'll see in a second my mouse jump over to the left side column. Now, as I mentioned before, I didn't want to end up laying my hands on my mouse and my keyboard, because then I feel that that defeats the whole purpose of actually coding this software. But essentially, you can toggle up and down between these menus on the buttons, and whenever you want to make a group active for those controls, you would simply press down the right click button. And whenever you wanted to make just one plugin from the list active, you can use your horizontal mouse movement and go back and drop that down and click it on like that. So I'll demonstrate to you how this works in just a second. So for example, I've got my EQ7 band selected. Now keep in mind, you can only control one set, or you can only control one plugin at a time, but you know, this is just a workaround and it's not going to be perfect. But essentially, you'll go in here and you'll open the EQ plugin that you desire. Now notice that you can select the active foremost window closest to you whenever the mix window is selected. The plugin window is not. Keep in mind, for this to work, the plugin window must be selected. So let's see here. You've got your knob controls, as you can see. Now notice the mouse is jumping from knob to knob, and as I said, these are emulating mouse movements. Now, the way I'm getting to the knobs to move with using ControllerMate is I'll have the mouse mapped to jump to that particular location in the window that I pre-select before encoding the knob or button, and it's essentially simulating mouse scroll movements, either up or down. Mouse scrolling up makes the frequency or the knob turn up, and scrolling it down makes it go down. Now the way I've set this within ControllerMate, as you'll see here in a second, you'll pull up a new inspector window. You'll click on the object that you need to set for the mouse to jump to that location. You essentially take a screenshot of that plugin. You'll go ahead and open the plugin within ControllerMate. You'll select the parameter that you want the mouse to jump to, and you simply click on the location. And there you have it. Whenever you map the MIDI message to the mouse jump message, your mouse will automatically jump to that location, and then you can attach a vertical wheel down or up message to that mouse jump movement, and it should all work out just fine. Alright, this concludes my ControllerMate demo. I appreciate the view. Thank you very much.